Today, we have Randula again for a very special session. Now, if I ask this way, now, if you are trying to put up your business, a new business, right? What is the single most important document you need to refer? That is your business plan. That is your business plan. And sometimes we call it business model canvas. Some of you may have heard of that already, and some may have not. Remember, this is the most important single document that an entrepreneur needs to have. The entrepreneur himself has to look at the document, he has to prepare the document himself. And the benefit is that if you have a very good business plan, uh, you will have foreseen all of the problems, most of the problems you're going to encounter as you walk down the entrepreneurial pathway. And you may have already built how to face in these situations, tough situations, how to handle things. And that is why it is so important, such an important document for an entrepreneur. So you are today in very good hands. Randula will take you through this journey. So I don't want to introduce Randula again. It will be just a repetition because you have seen her before. So therefore, without further ado, let me introduce Randula to take over and deliver her presentation. Randula, it's all yours.
Thank you, Professor. Hello, everybody. It's wonderful to be connected with you all again very soon. So today's conversation or discussion will be very different to last time. Last time was very interactive with two other very dynamic and experienced individuals. Today's session is different because of the nature of the topic itself. And also because today's session will involve you building a business model canvas for yourself, right? So with that, I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know if you can see it. And once you can see it, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Great. So a business model canvas, like Professor briefly mentioned, is the most important thing when building your own business. Now, this is applicable to anybody who is starting off or anybody who has already started off the business without really thinking through a business model. This is a great point. This is a great touch point for you to have a very good overarching view of all the elements of what your business contains. And when you have started with a business model canvas and model your business according to that business model canvas, anywhere down the line, that will be your base document to turn around and look back and see where you are going, where you have headed. So it's almost like a really good baseline that you're building around your business idea or your business venture, right? So this sounds great in theory, but what exactly is a business model? Right? So Peter Drucker, if anybody here knows Peter Drucker, he's a management guru and a very well-renowned management consultant in the United States of America. And he says this is basically assumptions about what a company gets paid for. So it's what your company is made of and what you're going to get paid for is basically. So if you go and pitch your new business idea to an investor or at any of these forums, startup pitching competitions or whatnot, the basic question that you will get asked is, what's your business model? When that question get asked, basically what they want to know is, how are you planning to make money, right? Now, any business is a for-profit business. There are also social enterprises. Those are also for-profit social enterprises. But also there are non-for-profit organizations that are set off to do a certain kind of social environmental good, to achieve a certain kind of a social environmental objective and goal. Those organizations also can have a business model. Only thing that will change there is the for-profit factor, right? So what I'm about to go through with you today is a basic structure of any business, predominantly for-profit or non-for-profit. But this conversation and this segment will basically outline what is a business made of and what are the basic assumptions that you will have to have in hand in order to make sure that you get paid for your venture, for your solution, or for your product. I have already shared reading materials with you, which is going to be basically give you the outline of the content that I have in my presentation. But I also have an extra article that I would recommend for you to read from the Harvard Business Review magazine, which is the link here at the bottom on this. I will also share that with you at the end of this presentation, so that you can also take a very good look at what that article talks about. It's a very powerful article. Then let's look at this guy. Anybody who knows who Alex Osterwalder is? So Alex Osterwalder is the person who developed the business model canvas that I'm going to take you through. It has 9 pillars. It's a 9-part business model canvas. And this is a very recent introduction. It started, he brought it in 2009 and then further published it in 2011, the version that we are going to look at today. And he says, and he's a Swedish management consultant and a guru, and he says, business model is really a set of assumptions or hypotheses which your business roadmap is built on. So why are we talking about assumptions and hypotheses basically, right? Because when you begin something, begin to monetize something, when you take an idea out to the world, it's a new invention or innovation. It's something that is non-existent, or it's not something that you have done before. It's something new. You're going to take it out to a customer. You're going to create value for that customer. And it's a completely new journey that you're building. It's a completely new pathway, right? So you don't exactly know what step to take after this step. There is no predetermined pathway, right? So that's why that we talk about it, and all of these gurus talk about it as assumptions or hypotheses, because these are things that you assume, or these are hypotheses that you build your business on, right? So the stronger and well thought through your business model is, the more certainty you will have in achieving your business goals, right? So that's why it's important to have a business model canvas laid out so that you understand what your business is made out of and what path you're going to take as you grow. To make it watertight, you can keep reviewing your business model every year in the early years. That's something that we promote across all the companies that we work with, right? So essentially, a business model talks about your key resources, your key activities, not only how you're going to make money, but what resources are you going to need to make money? What are the key activities that you have in your value chain? What value are you adding to your customers? What type of customer relationships are you going to maintain? What are the channels that you're going to take your product or service to market? Who are your customers? And what and how are you going to incur costs, right? And what are the ways that you're going to generate revenue, or how are you going to earn money, right? So when you lay out a business, when you lay out a plan across these 9 pillars that Alex Osterwalder built, you will be able to make sure that you have not missed out anything. Okay, so the most essential 9 pillars are the pillars that that is built on a business model canvas, and you will also be able to compare your business with your competitors or other people who have done well in the industry when you have laid out these 9-pillar business model canvas. I have a story to tell you about Alex Osterwalder. I have met him in person, virtually, because GoodLifeX, the company that that I'm CEO of, also did an iteration of a business model canvas called the Regenerative Redistributive Business Model Canvas, that is for more socially, environmentally conscious businesses, because we believe that what got us here won't take us there into the future. So it's a very futuristic business model. If we have time today, I'll take you through that also. That has been presented to Alex Osterwalder, and we are very proud to be a Sri Lankan company to have done that as well. So without further ado, this is the business model canvas. This is what I have been talking to you about. So if you take a look at this, you will see 9 different pillars of different sizes. And also you will see these blue color stickers, blue color numbers that are given to each of these pillars, right? So these numbers basically is the chronological order in which you should build your business model, or basically the order in which you should think about building your business model, right? So if I slowly unpack this for you, your workbook also has something like this. Let me just quickly show that to you. So in your working document, you will have this, right? You will also have something like this. Okay, so this will enable you to just unpack your thoughts without going through the Canvas structures. Some of us aren't very good at writing down things on tables, and we are get better writing down things in order like this. So you can just populate your thoughts here and then later transfer it to the Canvas itself, right? So just to make it easier for you. So if I go back to where I was in the presentation, we start with the customer segment. Okay, so even though this is the value proposition is what you see right in the middle, we start first with customer segments. Basically, customer segments, number 1 and number 2 goes hand in hand together. Okay, sorry, I was just looking at the message that I have got on the Zoom chat. So basically, in the customer segments, what we try to understand is who exactly are your customers? Who are you trying to sell your product to? Or in other words, who is going to pay a price to buy your product, right? And in value propositions, basically, that's why I'm saying it goes hand in hand. In value propositions, it's going to talk about, it's basically for you to think about what is it that we do with our company? What problem are we trying to solve with our product or service for the identified customer segment? So both of these are correlated, goes hand in hand. So when you think about who am I going to sell my product to, or who is willing to pay a price to buy my product or solution, you also then think, okay, these are the segments, these are the type of people who are going to be paying a price for this, and the value that I'm going to create for those people is this, right? So basically, if I illustrate this further, market and customer segments, like I said, is who needs our solution? How many people will need our solution right now? And how many will eventually need it? So it not only makes you think about who is our customer segment, but also it pushes you to think, how many are there willing to buy this product? Is it 20? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Okay, that gives you a very clear picture of your customer base, right? And then it also makes you think, how many will eventually need it? Growth potential. How many are going to need it? They might not need it right now, but they will eventually need it. That means you have a potential to scale or grow your business. Okay, if you find out at any given point that the answer to all of these questions is going to remain 5 customers and it's not going to grow, only 5 people in the entire world is going to need your product, is that then a viable business? Are you able to charge the sun, moon, and the stars, in other words, millions and billions, from those people, the 5 people that you have identified as your customers? because your product is so unique and valuable and only those people are going to want it? If the answer is no, then again, is your business viable? Is it worth taking it to market? Because you only have 5 people who's willing to pay for it, and you only have also 5 people hypothetically who will need it, right? That is fundamentally the first point, that you are going to validate whether your idea is market worthy or not. Okay. In the company that I work in, or my company, Good Life X, we only work with post-revenue startups or post-revenue SMEs, meaning at least one paying customer needs to be there for us to be working with that company. That means there is validation that that solution or product is needed in the market, that they are offering a value, right? So that is what we need to identify and understand by market and customer segments. Then we move to pillar number 2. Here, according to this, pillar number 2 is value propositions, and what problem, like I said, what problem do we solve for this identified customer segments, and how do we propose to solve it? So those 2 things are going to be the founding pillars of your business model canvas. Then once you have identified that, we move on to the very next question that we need to answer, which is identified in the 3rd pillar, that is the customer relationships. So customer relationships basically is, very simply put, how do we talk to our market about our solutions? How do we get more and more customers? So how do we grow our customer segments? That's what we are trying to identify here. Okay. So how do you communicate and build rapport with your customers throughout your journey? Where do your customers like to... Hari Nishanta, can you please be on mute? I hear a ringing tone from your end, and that is kind of getting in the way of the presentation. Harin, if you can hear me, please go on mute. Thank you. Anybody who is not presenting, please, it'll be much appreciated if you can go on mute so that everybody else in the room can hear me. Thank you. So like I was saying, customer relationships, right? How and where do your customers like to communicate? Where do you find them mostly? Every communication should drive home the problem that you're solving and why your solution is the best, or the better yet only, that is around right now, right? So that's predominantly something that you need to understand. Mama, then I will also give you more examples of how to do this. This sounds very theoretical right now. And I apologize if it's a very one-way kind of communication right now, but when we get to the exercise part, we can communicate actively, and I can address your questions also. So basically, customer relationships is about how do you build a rapport with your customers, and how do we get more and more customers to know about your product, right? Then comes the 4th pillar, which is channels, right? So channels basically is, how are people who need your solution going to buy it? Again, how are you going to make your product accessible? How do you deliver your solution to your customers? Where will they find it? Will they find it in a supermarket? Will they find it in a grocery? Will they find it online? Will they find it on Instagram? Will they find it in their school cafeteria? Will they find it in a bookshop? Where are they going to find your product? So that also you need to identify by taking a look at your customer segment. Okay, where are they spending money right now? And how are you going to make it as easy as possible for your customer segments to purchase your product, right? Let's take for an example, you identify that most of your customers are going to right now is spending money at farmers markets. Okay, they are going to farmers markets. So if you, by knowing that, if you still make your product only available in supermarkets, are you making it easy for your target customer, for your identified customer segments to buy your product? No. You're making it difficult for them because they don't go to supermarkets. go to farmers markets. So ඒගොල්ලෝ යන්නේ පොළට. පොළට යන කට්ටියට නම් මේක අපි විකුණන්නේ. අපි ඒක supermarket shelf එකක තියලා හරියන්නේ නැහැ. You're making it difficult for your target customer to find your product. So then you have to go to where they are, right? So that basically is what channels mean, right? Then we go to the next product, next pillar. Next pillar is key activities, right? That's number 5. So key activities talks about what do we need to do in order to produce, market, and deliver your solution. Be it a product or be it a service, what do you absolutely have to do to produce your solution, be it a product or a service? If the resource is necessary to deliver your value proposition, you have to ask yourself, do you really need to do it? If the activity isn't directly tied up to delivering your value proposition, then it is not key. You probably shouldn't be doing it. That means this pillar only identifies the key most activities that you have to do to build your product and take it to market. If it's an additional thing that is going to be a nice to do and a nice to have, that is not a key activity. Okay, so you have to only identify the most key things that you have to do in order to make your product alive and for it to go to market, right? Then we go to the next pillar, which is key resources, number 6. Under key resources, basically what we need to think about is, what do we need to have in order to produce, market, and deliver our solutions? What are the resources that we are going to need? It can be human resources, it can be capital resources, but basically without those things, we are not able to build our product. We are not able to deliver our value proposition. The value proposition that you identified here in this middle pillar, you're not able to deliver that to your target customer. Right? So you're going to identify what are the key resources that you need in order to achieve your overall value proposition. Okay. Then number 7 is key partners. Under key partners, we talk about who do we need to work with in order to produce and deliver solutions. Now, recently I worked with a very interesting company that's building a electric tricycle. It's called Green Loop Solutions. He's an engineer. He's an engineer coming out of Moratuwa. He's I think, I don't know, maybe approaching his 50s or maybe already in his 50s. And I mean, his product and his prototype is brilliant, right? But he is an engineer. He works as an engineer. He's an engineer. He has an engineer's mind. And he believes he can do everything. But along the work that we did, he came to understand, just because he understands the product from end to end, he can't be doing everything on his own. He's going to need a team, but even more than that, to sell his product in the market, he's going to be, he has to work with other partners in the ecosystem who is going to help him take his product to market. It can be financial institutions, it can be farmer community associations. So this is an electric tricycle that will help mobility for farmers that are using tuk-tuks and tractors right now. A much more affordable and eco-friendly solution. So he then understood that he is going to need a lot of other people in the ecosystem for him to produce this and to also deliver the solution. So under the key partners, we are going to understand what are the key activities and resources someone else can take care of so that our business can focus on the key value proposition, right? I'll give you more examples when we go into making the exercise, but this basically identifies individuals and entities that are outside our business, not our team, not our shareholders, not our directors, but people who are outside, who's going to help us to take our product to market, right? Then pillar number 8, that is revenue streams. So under revenue streams, basically, it's very simple. How are we going to get paid for our business? How are we going to earn money? Who's going to pay how are we going to get paid for our product or solution? So under that, we will identify that we need to make enough money to cover our costs, right? So our pricing strategies, all of that also comes under this, so that your efforts gets rewarded, and you make a profit, and that your efforts are rewarded, right? So revenue streams and pricing models go hand in hand. You understand how you're going to get paid, and you're also going to understand how you're going to price your product according to the next pillar, which is the cost structure. So cost structure basically is our last pillar, right? Now, if you can see, starts with customer segment, goes to value proposition, comes to customer relationships, goes to channel, then goes to key activity, key resources, key partners, goes to revenue streams, and then the cost structure. So if you take a look at this, right, the right-hand side of this diagram are things that makes money. The left-hand side, the ones outlined in red, are things that costs money, right? So the final pillar is cost structure. Basically talks about how much your key activities, resources, and partners are going to cost you, right? And at this point, it's a very good idea to take a look at each of the categories that you outlined before to see that everything that you underlined, highlighted, and put into each of those other pillars are absolutely essential to deliver your value proposition. Anything that's not essential goes out, because that is going to be incurring a cost for you, right? So as the business progresses, as you grow as a company and your revenue grows and your market segment grows and your customer grows, you can then bring in the value additions, right? But you will have to understand, when you kind of lay this down, you will understand how you're going to have your price models put in, and how your revenue streams are going to flow in, and your cost structure is going to look like, which will then help you look at a break-even point, which will show you how much of money are you going to need to make, and how much time will that take for you to break even, which means your revenue is going to go beyond your cost, which is going to be giving you a profit, right? Easier said than done, trust me. It took our company, I think, about 18 months. So I went on for 18 months without paying myself a salary. But I mean, we are in a consultancy business, so our costs are very low. When it comes to a manufacturing business, resources are going to be quite costly, right? So the type of business, it differs. The business model also changes according to the type of business. So with that, I'm going to go into an example, right? So all the theory that I just spoke to you about, this highlights a real life example of what a business model looks like of a very simple business. This is a business model of a lawn mowing company. Okay, so if we take a look at their first pillar, which is the market and customer segments, that talks about who are their customers. Okay, so here they have outlined to say any individual or business with a lawn that needs services. Where there is grass, you will have a customer, right? And in the immediate neighborhood of this company, they have identified 43 potential customers. So these 43 potential customers has a lawn, but it doesn't say whether they have a lawnmower themselves or not, right? Even if they do have a lawnmower, which will help them kind of cut their grass on their own, remember, these guys are selling convenience, right? Now, if you take a look at Uber as a business, or PickMe as a business, what is their value proposition? Can somebody tell me? Okay, you can Google it up and also see. But their value proposition is not just a ride or transport. It's convenience, right? If on a very rainy day like today, before the days of Uber, before the days of PickMe, if you don't have your vehicle, you have to either go to a bus stand and wait for a bus, or if there are taxis and tuk-tuks around, you have to stand in the rain and put your arm out and call a taxi, right? When Uber got invented. We can install an app in our mobile network, in our mobile, and we can just order a taxi to wherever we are if we are in an urban area, if we are in an area where Uber services are provided, right? So we don't have to get wet, and our taxi comes to our door, and we just have to get it. So that is convenience, right? So their value proposition really is above transportation is convenience, and that is a magic. They call it the magic of Uber, right? Similar to that, there are many other platforms, Airbnb, for instance, right? It's not only a shelter under a roof that they're providing, but they disrupted the entire hospitality market by converting any home to a place that you can stay. It's a direct homeowner to customer relationship, and it made it hospitality and transport and travel very affordable. Travel and leisure very affordable, right? So like that, to these customer segments, the lawn needs to be moored. Even if they have a lawnmower, these guys will mow it for you at a affordable price. So they're actually selling convenience, not only cutting grass, right? So then what is their value proposition? Their problem, the customer's problem, is that they have a lawn that needs mowing. The grass has grown and they need to mow the lawn. The solution is they mow your lawn twice a month on a subscription basis, so you can forget about it. So you don't even have to call the lawnmower company to say, hey, my grass is 4 inches high, please come. We have a subscription, we offer a subscription, we come twice a month. We know the cycle of how much grass grows, and we come twice a month on a scheduled date, and you don't have to worry about it. You just have to pay us in advance for that subscription, right? So that is the value proposition of this company. Then let's go take a look at their third pillar, customer relations, right? How are they going to build a relationship with their company? So this particular organization has identified personalized thank you notes after they move their lawn, and a friendly face-to-face conversation. People like to have trusted people. People like to have personalized relationships and rapports with people who work around in our homes, or who works in our business, or who works in our institution, right? Even if there is somebody that is not very relevant to our day-to-day work, we still like to have conversations with the security guards. We still like to have conversation with the person who makes tea. We know about how their child goes to school. We know if somebody is not well at their home, right? So friendly face-to-face conversation can do so much for both the customer as well as the service provider. So these guys have identified that trait as a way to build a relationship with the customer. And then they have identified how are they going to go to be accessible to their target market. So one is door-to-door sale, because they have identified 43 people in their neighborhood. They're all in a confined area. They can walk to those houses, right? So one is door-to-door sales. The other is call-ins from flyers. That means they're also going to distribute flyers with their telephone numbers or their email addresses on it, where customers can see that this service is up for sale, and they will see it and call, right? So that is the channel and the go-to-market strategy, basically. Then we talk about what are the key activities, right? That is this pillar, the very next pillar. And now here from making money, we have moved to the costs, right? So here we talk about key activities. What are the key things you have to do to cut grass, basically? Lawn mowing, okay? That's number one. You need to cut grass to get paid. Then door-to-door sales. You need to do that in order to grow your target market. Flyer placement, which means you have to distribute the flyers. Fee collection. If you're on a subscription-based model, you have to collect your fees in advance. And also customer appreciation note writing, the thank you notes that they talked about. These are the key activities of this very simple business, right? And then we talk about key resources. What are they going to need in order to make this business a functioning business? A lawnmower, a trimmer line, gas, flyers, envelopes. for the thank you loans. So if you notice, they have also under these key resources outlined how much. So they already have a lawnmower and a trimmer. So they've identified those as free. There's no cost at it. There's no cost incurred, but they're going to be incurring costs for everything else, right? Flyers, envelopes, gas, and trimmer line, all of those things they're going to spend money on, right? So they have outlined that also. Then they have outlined key partners, people outside their business that's going to be essential to help them grow this business. One is their father, to let them borrow his lawnmower and the trimmer, and their mother to give them FedEx, drive me to FedEx to print flyers, right? So as you can see, this is a very student-based, student-approached business, to keep it very simple and understandable. But key partners in a real world, much more advanced business, are the people who are belonging to that industry and ecosystem, right? So if I take a look at a business like Green Loop, the electric tricycle that I gave you an example before, his key partners are financial institutions like banks, who is going to give loans to the farmers to be able to buy this electric tricycle. Farmer associations who will find the need for this electrical tricycle and buy and source his product at discounted rates or at easy purchasing arrangements. Then other distributing partners like Kapruka and Saraketa or other agricultural farming businesses or entities that are going to find this product useful, who will then source it and use it for their farms, right? So those are the key partners. They are not essentially the end user, they are not the end customer, but these are the people who fit in the middle of the ecosystem, who will do a bit of the work for these people in order to make it a viable business. And of course, partners like us, who built their business model, who took them to market, who introduced them to other ecosystem partners. So we worked as a business consultancy who made it possible for them, right? So those are the key partners, and also organizations like Sarvo there. So those are the key partners for that Green Loop or the much more developed and advanced business that I earlier spoke of. But you can also keep it very simple depending on what your business and value proposition is. So it can be as simple as mom and dad or your brother or your sister, right? Or it can be as complex as Green Loop Solutions that I just spoke to you of. Then let's move into the revenue streams, right? So as I said, as this is a very simple business solution that we're talking about, it's clients pay a monthly subscription, $40. And money should be collected after the first moving of each month. And after recurring monthly costs, $6.84 are deducted, and 33.16 will remain as profit for each lawn mowed, right? So that's their revenue streams and pricing model, right? Then let's take a look at the cost structure. Their upfront cost is $45 for all the costs, all the key resources that they have identified here. And they have also identified recurring costs, how much average lawn uses in terms of gas, in terms of the trimmer line, and each collection envelope, how much it costs. So with that, they have made a breakdown of how much cost is incurred for each job. It's not about how much are we spending money for every month, but if we are spending $100 a month, how many lawns have we mowed? If we have then mowed 10 lawns, that means it costs $10 per lawn, right? So here, most important thing is also to identify what is the cost structure per job or per product, right? And then you can easily build your pricing strategy or model according to that, right? So this basically outlines the basic MOS business model canvas, or This diagram, the populated version is this in a very simple example. I have a few questions here. Okay, so I'm not going to answer these right now, but instead I will ask you to try to populate your own business model canvas according to this and according to the reading materials that I have given to you. Professor Rohan, may I ask you, do they all have access to the reading material already? Okay, until I hear back from Professor Rohan, please try to write down, if you don't have that assignment document with you right now, take a piece of paper and pen and write down who your customer segments are, what your value proposition is, how you're going to maintain relationships with your customers, what are the channels you will get to that market with, what are your key activities, key resources, key partners, revenue streams, and cost structure. Okay, I will give you 15 minutes to do that. So you have time till 8 p.m. Okay, you have 17 minutes actually to do that. And while you're populating that, right, you can ask any questions from me either by unmuting or through the chat. Then I will answer those accordingly, because practically when you're doing it, you will find answers to your own questions. And maybe you will find new questions to ask as well, right? So let's take this 15 minutes to populate your own business model canvas. If you don't have a business idea that has answers to all of these pillars right now, that's still okay. Just come up with any simple idea, any simple product or service you can think of, or maybe it's a product and a service of a friend that you know, or of a family member. Just build a canvas according to that, and then we can interact and answer any specific questions you might have based on that. Okay, so your time starts now.
Randula, I have noted down on a separate Word document about 3 questions posted
Yes.
on the chat room. Do you want to take it now or maybe later?
I have seen it, Prof. Let's take it once they start populating the business model canvas. Yeah. I wanted to know, do they already have access to the working document that I shared?
Yeah, document is available on the course website. They can download it from there.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Prasad Madhuri has asked how to maintain a very good relationship with key partners of the business. Relationships really is what drives the world around. People say money makes the world go around. Unfortunately, it is relationships. It is who is going to answer your call and do you a favor, or do you listen to you and help you move a mountain, basically, right? So first thing is to understand who are these partners, right? And then try to understand what's valuable for them. What are their values? What's valuable for them? Do these things align with who you are and what values you have to offer? If yes, then it's going to be easy. Then it's just a matter of them getting to know you, you getting to know them, and establishing a relationship. Establishing a relationship can be just by having conversations that are going to be recurring, by doing a good deed, or by inviting them to events that you will have, or by communicating good things that your organization does, or things that are valuable to that partner that your organization has done. Something that we practice is develop and send out a newsletter every month that keeps our key partners informed of what we do. And also end of the year, we send a personalized note to all of those partners who has worked with us. Every time we have a community event every month, we invite them to come be part of it. If we invite 100, maybe 20 turn up, because not everybody is free every month, but still they know they're invited and they feel like they belong. So depending on the partner, depending on the type of business and the activities that you have in your business, there's many different avenues you can explore. Main thing is to know who your partners are and what's valuable to them. And then it's up to you to be creative, right? So good thing about building a business of your own is it gives you ample amount to be creative. So building a business is essentially for people who are curious, who are creative, and who are willing to take a risk. I hope I answered your question. And then we have, how can we measure? Dilani has asked, how can we measure how many people will eventually need our product or the service? So this is a very good question, Dilani, and I will share another video that you should look at by Simon Sinek. He talks about the curve of the customer segment. So every product or service that is introduced, if it's very new, it's essentially first going to be taken up by early adopters, right? That's going to be early years, and then it builds up. It builds up to a point, and after that it becomes obsolete, right? So then you have to keep reinventing, innovating things, value addition. That's why Apple keeps putting out a new version every year, not because people need just another version of a smartphone, but there's something always improved so that they have built a very loyal customer base that will want it, right? So how do you measure how many people will eventually need our product or the service? Few ways you can do it to see how much of a vital problem you're solving, and to see how many others are there in the market who are already doing it, and to see what gap are you filling that makes your product much more superior to the others who are solving the problem. Okay, and remember that other people being in the market providing a similar solution is not a bad thing. Having competition is also a validation that there is a market, right? That you're not doing something that is not needed. Okay, it's already there, meaning that's great. You're not even the first mover, that's even better, because other person, somebody else who has been a first mover, has already kind of gone through the learning curve of entering that market as a first mover. So the second mover has better advantage actually to learn it from the first mover and to not do the same mistakes over and over again. So how to measure and identify whether there's potential growth for these markets is to see what problem are you solving, who's willing to pay a price for it, and will they need it again and again. If they're not going to need it again and again, then you create a need for them to need your product or value-added products alongside your product again and again. So it's a chicken and egg kind of a story. This is also a need that you can keep creating, right? So we say go after niche markets because then it's easier for you to tap into it. But when you go after a niche market, you have to also make sure that the market remains consistent. So some people, we work with a lot of people who are in the food business. Some people sell spices, for instance. If they sell spices to households, they understand very quickly that they wouldn't, this is not something that the customer will buy this continuously, but also it's not a product that you need brand loyalty for so much. And it's also not something that you will need every day, right? You will maybe need it monthly or like once in 3 months or once in 2 months. And you also can't charge like a massive margin and a premium because it's spices. It's amply available everywhere. then that affects your pricing strategy also. Then what can you do? You can try to see if you can identify a different market segment than selling it in supermarket groceries, to see who will need it more often and who's going to be willing to pay a better price for you. And that's when we take this Spice Brewers Global to supply to places like Shangri-La Kitchens, that is going to be using a lot of spices every day because it's an international hotel chain, or ice cream manufacturers that are global like Allerix. Sorry, not Allerix, like Walls, who's going to need vanilla day in, day out, right? So they can become ingredient products other than household products. So just like that, you're going to identify different market segments that will be willing to pay a premium and be buying it more often from you in order for you to reach that scale, if you have that scale. Any more questions?
Hi, ma'am. I have asked 2 questions.
In the Q&A? Oh. You
Yeah,
have
in the chat
2
box.
questions, yes. Sorry.
In the chat box, I have already.
Okay. I unfortunately don't see any more questions. How to maintain a good relationship?
You can ask it again, the one
Yeah,
Randula
please.
missed to answer. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it advisable to make, for example, I am doing a FMCG product, okay? So to overcome the collection problem, so if I distribute to the local markets like small shops and all, there will be a credit collection problem and all. So to overcome it, I mean we decided like we only supply to the supermarket, and is it advisable to do so?
What is your product again?
It's an FMCG product. Let's say like
Okay, FMCG product. Okay, understood. And you have incurred problems of collecting money before from the smallholder shops.
Yeah.
Yeah, and have you identified who your customer segments are?
No, the thing is, to be frank, we are supplying to the end users.
Yes.
But
yes.
if we are going directly to the end users by the channel, I mean local channels like small shops
Sure.
and all,
Sure.
there are many problems, like especially the credit collection.
Sure,
And
I understand your problem.
and our products are like premium product,
Okay.
which is there is a certain particular customer, target customers are there, like
Sure.
all the customers will not buy that product.
Sure.
There are certain customers who will afford to buy that,
Okay.
like for example, let's say in the detergent powder, Surf Excel, they have point of customers, and also Diva have a separate customer. It depends on that. So same like that, we have our premium product, which is a little bit high quality, and also a little bit price wise also high. So we can't sell this to the local market, so that we choose to display our product only in the big supermarkets like hypermarkets. Yeah. So is it advisable?
Yeah, I think you have cracked your strategy very well. So your customer segments are those who are willing to pay a premium price. They're not going to be coming to, you won't find them in normal grocery stores where you will have to compete with Diva or other kind of detergents. I'm just taking the same example you took. And you have identified that they come to premium supermarkets, or they are coming to places where they can find other products that have a premium appeal to it. So with that, placing them at hypermarkets definitely is the way to go So that's where you can keep that product available at. And you can also take a look at how are you going to promote and what kind of marketing channels you're going to use to promote your product, to see where you will find your customers. Is it going to be, again, on online marketing platforms like Google Ads or Instagram? Or is it going to be around areas like schools where there are parents who will be taking a look at the flyers around those places? Or is it going to be places like cinemas? What are the places that your target customer who's going to be paying a premium price going to come to? You can also define your go-to-market strategy or your marketing strategy according to that. So I think not going to groceries just for scale is definitely a good decision, because your target customers don't seem to be coming to those small shops anyway, if I'm getting you right.
Yeah. And one more question, if you don't mind, regarding
Sure,
the
of
pricing
course.
strategy.
Mm,
Yeah,
mm.
regarding the pricing strategy, what type of, what are the specifically what are the pricing strategy that I can apply to my product, which is FMCG product, as I explained to you earlier?
Yeah. So first thing to look at when you're looking at a pricing strategy is to first understand what your cost structure is. Okay, without knowing your cost, you can't go mark a price. That's one thing you need to consider. The other thing you need to consider is, what is your competition? Is it going to be low-end mass scale products which are extremely price sensitive and price competitive? Or is it going to be at a premium range? Is it going to be for a very niche audience and a market that is going after a different kind of a value proposition, right? Once you have understood that, you can play along those brackets that you have identified in the market. Now, if you're going to go for a mass market product, if your product is a mass market product, and if your market channel is a highly competitive place like a supermarket shelf, right? Your cost strategy or pricing strategy also needs to be playing according to that. So it should be in the range of those products. If your product is going to be the highest in that range, you should then identify a very good reason why your customers should be paying an extra price, apart from choosing the rest of the 5 products that are going to be in the same shelf, right? So attractive packaging and a very good story, brand positioning, all of that needs to be there in your package and your other marketing materials. If you have decided to go at different, very specific, let's say, organic market, or a place like Good Market, where there's customer segments that comes again for a very, very different reason and a choice, lifestyle choice that they have made, then your pricing strategy can be even further different. Your margins can be higher because people are paying a different price, a higher price, because you're more sustainable or more environmentally conscious. I'm just giving you an example because I took the Good Market example, right? Or you are giving a better wage to the people that is working for you, or you're giving services for school in your neighborhood. For every packet of detergent purchase, you're going to pledge a percentage going to that school as learning material, or as new uniforms, right? So people will buy your product for a different reason. Yeah.
To interrupt, madam. Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
I noticed point here which is relevant to me. You are talking about the school. Yeah, regarding that, we have already in our mind to supply to the schools, and we are targeting the school students. So,
Okay.
is it advisable? Is it advisable to make it, for example, what we planned, like we give a special discount to the school students, and I mean what we say, like in other words we can say, like I don't know the exact word of that, so that's why I'm troubling here. I can say, like you know, something like discount, where something like discount who are giving to the school like a donation or something. Someone will give, no, the same way. If you know Tamil, I can say that money.
No, I don't know Tamil, unfortunately. I'm not very proud of it.
Okay, I'm
but
sorry. So we call it in Tamil Maniyam, which is it's a half of the
sorry.
price.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a
For the
half of the
students.
price.
Okay.
We give it to the needy people who can't afford to buy that, but still they need it.
Okay. And why are
So
you doing
that's
that?
we strategized, and
Why are you doing that?
because is particularly one that we are focusing only for the students, only for the students who are wearing the white clothes.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So a discount, you're offering a discount for the students who's wearing white products, which is specific to your product, but you're giving a discount in order to grow your market share or to make other people who can afford to buy your product feel like buying your product because you're doing something good. Which one is it?
No, there are two reasons, ma'am. One is to augment my market share. Let the people use my product, feel the difference. One thing.
Good. Yeah.
The second thing, obviously, sales boost.
Yeah. And this discount is not going to eat into your costs or your revenue. Have you done the calculation?
It will reduce my number. For example, the price which we are going to sell in the shelves on the supermarket is higher than this. But still, we're going to give as a, that's what we call that, the specific word I can't tell you.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So there's
sorry.
also a different strategy. No, I understand what you're saying. But there's also another strategy you can use here. This is only for this specific product, right? Now I'm going beyond business model canvassing. I'm talking about business strategy or marketing strategy right now. So one thing you can do here is it's a very specific product. It's for school children, for white clothes, right? And you want to expand your sales. You want to expand your market reach, and it's an extremely competitive market because you have DIVA and other companies that are doing mass scale production. One thing you can do is also to kind of differentiate your high-end product, or let's say, for example, your this particular product, if it's called Snow White, I'm just throwing a name, right? If Snow White is available 500 rupees in a supermarket, if I go to Glowmark or Cargill's, to a school student, it's available for 250 rupees, same Snow White, right? So then that creates a problem to your customer who's going to pay 500 to get it. Without doing that, what you can do is also, you can introduce a different brand, okay, or a different size to the school kids, so that the end consumer that is buying the 500 rupee packet sees a difference. So they are not demotivated just because you give a discount somewhere else. So you can have your mother brand and you can have a school specific brand built under it, or a size built under it. So that's a sizing strategy or a branding strategy.
You are asking me to, you are advising me to change the brand name even?
You can keep the mother brand, right? So if I take an example, Diva or Lux, it has very many variations under it. Umbrella brand is the same, but it has a variation, like Batta or School Kid or whatever it is.
Okay, under our brand, we have 3 variants: Color Guard, and also we have.
So this is the white. This is the white version.
Yeah, it's the white version we call Ultra Protection. This is the Germ Guard.
Yeah.
This is a particular, separate color, separate design, and everything is separate.
Yeah. Okay, good. So that's fine. But in order for you to give a discount, you need to tell a story, right? Then if you have differentiated your brand already, you need to still say why you want to give it half the price for students. You can also change the size of the packet, or you can also make it like a promotion itself to say every school kid gets it half the price if they buy it from the school itself.
Let them use
or
and
some,
feel the difference. That's our
yeah,
motto. Let
but
them
make
use
it
and feel
time
the
bound,
difference. That's our motto. That's how we
and
are
make it
going to
time
grow.
bound. Make it
Yeah.
time bound. Make it like 3 month only, whatever, for the next term, next school term
Yes,
or
yes,
something
yes.
like
You are
that, and
exactly
see
correct.
how it drives its sales. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank
Okay.
you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
No
Thank
problem.
you.
I'm sorry, it's very surface level advice because I don't know your product well enough, but I hope it was helpful. Then we
Yeah, thank you.
have a few other questions. Okay, Dilani, you have asked when the customer segment is kind of broad, like starting from individuals to multinationals, should we depend on a limited segment after growing to a certain level? Until growing to a certain level, I think you mean. You really don't have to do that. If you think individuals are going to need your solution as well as multinationals, that's fine. But you need to list them all down. Yeah. If you have various different customer segments, better for you. Great. Your basket is very diverse. More diverse the basket, the better. The biggest problem in Sri Lanka right now is our export diversification is so bad, right? So diversification is good. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean you're losing focus. But if you have various customer segments, you need to also identify that your customer relationship pillar and the channels pillar will also need to have the correlated various methods to build relationships and way to get to those channels according to those customer segments. So the way you get to the individuals will not be the way that you get to multinationals. The way you maintain relationships with individuals will not be the way that you maintain relationships with customer segments, right? So you need to lay those down very clearly and accordingly, right? After you do that, you can take a look at the key activities and the key resources. To cater to multinationals, what are the key activities? What are the key resources? To cater to individuals, what are the key activities? What are the key resources? Then you will understand in the first year whether you have the capacity and the resources in hand right now, cash in hand, resources in hand, human capacity in hand, human resources in hand to deliver to all of your customer segments or not, right? After you lay down the entire canvas, you then decide what is the timeline. What is the timeline that you will look at to target each of those customer segments? Are you going to target all at once? Do you have the capacity, or is your capacity is going to get diluted? Then you will decide, no, I will not target individuals. I will actually first target multinationals because they have the ability to pay and they will buy this much. Okay. I will first, in the first year, I will take on this customer segment. And as I hit this X revenue target, I will then move on to the next customer segments according to your resources and capacities. If you have the resources and capacities to go for all of it, just go for all of it, right? You don't have to constrain yourself. So that's a very strategic decision you have to make according to how much you have in hand, right? And there is something called agility, right? That word. And this is, I'm going to take you to our proud creation, our business model canvas right now. This is the business model canvas that Good Life X created. In this, we talk about, we talk about each of these pillars differently, right? So key resources, we talk about in a very different way. We talk about it as agile and abundant assets, right? So this is a futuristic business model canvas. I didn't complicate your life too much by introducing this also. But how are you going to leverage the scarce assets you have in hand to achieve rapid growth and adapt changes that you're going to experience as you grow? That's what Uber did, right? Uber doesn't own a single car. Airbnb does not own a single real estate facility. They have abundant assets because of their agile business model and agile technology, right? So like that, if you have agile and abundant assets, or the way that you look at your key resources is different, then you might be able to actually target all of your customer segments at once, right? So if you're interested to know more about our business model canvas, this goes to all of you guys. I have included this also in your reading material. This kind of takes a spin on each of the pillars that I just spoke to you about, and it takes a regenerative and a redistributive perspective. For profit, but how are you going to create more value for your customer, for your community, for your society, and for your environment? Because in the future, each and every business will have to have a sustainability focus at its very core. It needs to go beyond CSR. It needs to go beyond achieving sustainable development goals. It needs to exist to do better, to build back a better country, to build back a better world, right? So that's why we have built this business model canvas. You can go into it, and you can also take, in this link, you can take a mindset assessment to see how regenerative your mindset is, right? So sorry for taking you through that right now. I didn't want to complicate it for you. But basically, that gives an overview of how a different business model can also be applied for futuristic sustainable businesses. I have more questions coming in. This is good. I like interaction. Next question from Wish Me. In the example given, when a new version of an Apple iPhone is introduced to the market to provide for the loyal customers, how do they manage to keep a low carbon footprint? That's a very good question. They don't, they're not the most, Apple is not a low carbon footprint organization. They're rich. They're financially very well to do, but their carbon footprint really is not great. I'm sorry, I don't have the data right now, but there was a recent study published of the biggest polluters of carbon in the world. And sad to say that Apple is also on the top 5, I think. I don't want to just say it off the top of my head, but there was a recent study done, if you can look it up. So this is a huge issue of us as humans just creating stuff, right? I was in Bangkok recently, massive traffic all the time, and most of those cars are single driver cars. This is a huge problem in South Asia, where our status is driven by assets and stuff we own. Yeah, these are false values that has been induced to us, which really is not even a part of our culture if we trace back 100 years, right? So sustainability, I love your question. I didn't see this coming when I was first reading it. Sustainability is included, needs to be included in the business model canvas because if we don't include it, it will negatively affect your outcome. Okay, it's sustainability no longer is a choice. Vishmi, thank you. You have really hit my hot buttons with this question. I mean, this is the sole purpose of Good Life X, and is my deepest passion on how can we convert every business to be a sustainable business, regardless whether they are environmentally connected business or not. And this is why we built this business model canvas, the Thrive business model canvas. And we have currently piloted this across 25 Sri Lankan businesses, includes giant companies like Boardpack and Calci that are tech and ICT businesses. So these are not only for startups and small scale enterprises, but also for large scale companies, right? So sustainability in this business model canvas is included. This is part in your learning material. I can also share videos where we explain this business model a little bit more. And if you're interested to know more about this canvas, you can always write to me. I'll be very happy to walk you through it personally. Madhushan Dhananjay has asked a question. If you want to get feedback from our customers to improve the product or improvement down to the product, is there any good way to suggest for that? The product is a clothing brand, because in case the customer experience is not good as we expected, by asking the feedback from the customer, will that experience get worse more? You should never be afraid for feedback. Customer might be angry if it's really a bad experience, but the moment you ask how the experience was, and if the experience has been bad, and you acknowledge that, and you recognize that, and you are aware of it, and you accept it, then the customer won't be angry anymore. But if you go to justify, to say, justify to say how you are right, and you let your ego get in the way, to say your product is premium, your product is superior, and your customer has got it wrong, then of course you're going to make it worse because you're not listening. This person is trying to tell you that this cut doesn't fit. They have ordered 100 t-shirts from you for their company, and they get it delivered, and they're saying, you have got the sizes wrong, and then you're arguing, saying, that can't ever be. You're the first customer to tell us this. Our cut is perfect. We have the best people working for it. It can't be. Then, of course, the customer is going to be angry. But if you ask for feedback and the customer say, actually, the fit is not perfect, this is not what I wanted, the collar size is wrong and the sleeve size is wrong, and you say, we're very, very sorry to hear this. Can you tell us a little bit more, which specific sizes did you get it wrong at? How can we make it better for you next time? If there's no way for you to compensate the customer, you can say, next time it won't happen. Thank you for giving us that feedback. And you can maybe send them something different. If you can't replace the t-shirts, you can send them a note, something low cost, like maybe a cake, something to say sorry, so that they will come back to you the second time, right? So ways to ask for customer feedback, you have multiple ways. If you have direct connection with your customers, you can have a database of people who makes a purchase from you, and you can call them and ask, how was the product? You can see many food restaurants doing that right now. And you can see many other service providers, like education service providers, doing that right now. If you don't have a first encounter with your customer, if it's a middleman who's purchasing or selling this product, you can still have a feedback channel included in your product packaging. It can be a URL. It can be a QR code that the customers can scan, or it can simply be your website. It can simply be your Facebook page, where you post a question to say, if you have used our product and if you have feedback to give us, please, we are eager to hear from you. Fill this form or tell us, call us. This is our number. You can see it in buses, right? You can see it in lorries. How is my driving? This is my number. Call and tell me, right? So these are different mechanisms to make yourself open for feedback and available for feedback. Never be scared of feedback. It's never a bad thing. It's always a good thing, because you're going to learn. You're going to make one more future customer happy by taking in feedback and making corrections within your organizations. And one more thing you can do is have train your employees to ask for feedback at the front line. If there's a front desk, if there's a front line, if there's people who is in your organization who meets customers face to face, they can get the feedback. They can embody your organization and its value and ask for feedback from the people as soon as they consume the product. And those are always very good things to embrace. Again, in our sustainable business model canvas, we have that as how do you generate feedback from them, and how do you also evolve your product and service according to the feedback that you get from your customers, because consumers are constantly changing. Okay. When you're working with a constantly changing consumer, if you don't get feedback, you don't know that they're evolving. And in 2 or 3 years, they have evolved and they have gone past your product, and you still believe that your consumer is there unchanged. No, people evolve, people grow. How do you grow with your consumer is what you need to identify. And for that, feedback is very important. I think I have answered all the questions in the chat box. Please let me know if I have missed anything. Okay. If there are no further questions, I will take you to your study material. So in this is the scenario, right, that I have identified, and these are the elements that you will fill. Here, each and everything that I just explained to you is explained. So if you forget what does key resources mean, you can look at this and understand what it means. Here, the numbered business model canvas is there. Here, again, the explained business model canvas, where you understand how each pillar is structured. And here is the example that I gave you about a lawnmower. Again, a very simple example so that you understand the basics. And here I have just populated a table according to the pillars of this business model canvas, according to the same order, so that you can put down your thoughts very quickly. After that, you can populate the canvas. And this is the regenerative redistributive business model canvas. Here you will find a link to the mindset assessment, and also it will take you to our page where you can download this model for free. It's available for anybody who is interested to build a sustainable, more sustainable business model canvas. And if you have any questions on that particular one, you can reach out to me separately, and I'll be very happy to support you. Any further questions? I think we have just 2-3 minutes left.
All right. I think everybody has got their questions answered, Randula. Thank you very much. It has been very, very interesting, interactive session today. Even though it was originally focused on business model canvas, the participants asked questions which is, I can't say out of the scope. They are very, very relevant questions, and you answered all of them. Thank you very much for that as well, going out of the way, out of the scope, but helping out the participants today. And we also got very good feedback. You mentioned about feedback and how important the feedback is. My advice also for our participants here, if you ever go for your own business development, make sure you take very good care of your not only customers, your partners, everybody who you are working with. I think this is one of the biggest mistakes that we do in Sri Lanka. Maybe I'm not very sure about other countries because of sometimes our cultural issues, our ethnic differences, our social differences, maybe caste, maybe coming from Colombo, coming from Jaffna, Kandy, I don't know. But a lot of divisions, a lot of reasons for us to not pay due respect and appreciate people's work. But modern world is not like that. We don't care about who you are, but we respect for what you are, right? So that is extremely important. Keep that in mind. That will be a very important skill for you to develop anyway as a human being, right? Irrespective of whether you're going to have your own business or not. But if you ever do your own business, this is extremely important. And also, Randula, could you tell us a little bit about how often or what is the criteria for upgrading or revising the business model canvas? Is it routine implementation, or when something happens that you suddenly firefight and try to revise your business model?
Unfortunately, that's how it happens practically in the normal world.
Right.
But that's not advisable. It's good to have annual routine. Just like we do performance review for employees, it's good to do a business strategy review every year. I mean, for startup businesses, I do it every 3 months actually, because startup cycles are very short and they're very fast growing and they pivot a lot. They change a lot, right? So if it's a very high-paced growth startup, it's good to do it every 3 months in the first 2 years. I know it's very strenuous and you don't have time for that. But it's important to take a bird's eye view and work on the business and not in the business. Sometimes we get bogged down in daily fires and specifics of running a business, and we lose the bigger picture. So business model canvas will help you to keep that bigger picture. So it's a highly paced growth startup, every 3 months is a good thing for the first couple of years. But if it's a business that is growing in a average and a normal pace, do it annually. We do it every year. So this year we just finished coming out of it in August. Every business has their cycles, right? So you can set a cycle according to your business cycle, and do it annually so that you understand where you have got your strategy right and where you need to tweak it. And also, just like we have AGMs every year, we also have EGMs, right? Extraordinary general meetings when something happens. So we did a new business model canvas for us outside of the cycle that we do it, because we introduced a new product to market. That's a pivot for us, actually. There is a X amount of services that we have offered for the market in the past 5 years, but in this year, March, we introduced something very new. And that is for a different customer segment, and our go-to-market strategy was also very different. So for that, we did a very new model to understand how do we work with this animal, right? So that was very useful for us. And now we have an integrated business model by combining our old model to the new model. If we haven't done that, we would continue our marketing in the same way. We would continue to build feedback and build relationships in the same way. But because we did that at the inception of that new product, now we are having a very blended approach where we are catering to both our segments together. So it's important to do it on a cyclical basis annually. But also, if you have a new thing coming, new thing happening, if you're expanding your team, if you're introducing something very novel to the market, then it's advisable to do it at that point as well.
Excellent. Got it, Randula. So the news is for everybody that if you start your own business, make sure you do it quite frequently at a higher cadence, every 3 months or so. But otherwise, when something happens, there's a significant change, then you have to update. Otherwise, you can stick to lower cadence, probably once a year. Thank you, Randula, for that.